Death's Gambit Afterlife has done more than just add some new content to the game. The game has been reborn as something far greater than it was before. As much as I've always loved the game, I admit that it was received with mixed reactions. A fair number of people believed the game felt incomplete or lacking or just wasn't quite refined enough to entertain them. With the release of Afterlife, however, the reception has been incredibly positive. Longtime fans of the game, like myself, have been blown away by just how much more the game has and how much every aspect has been improved. Former critics are being won over now by the game's new and improved state, and high review scores are pouring in. The update doesn't disappoint from a lore perspective either. We got a great deal of clarity and answers to many of our lingering unanswerable questions. Of course, now we have new questions, but that's exactly what I would want with new lore. The first thing I'd like to talk about is a secret area that goes far beyond the White Room that existed in the original game, and even lets us access a secret boss fight that requires Soren to look beyond the fourth wall to discover. One of the main things the Afterlife expansion gave us is new endings, with separate story paths that allow you to access areas unique to those paths. In order to access the new secret area, you must complete the A ending path. To get there, you'll first have to defeat at least 5 heroic boss fights and have your will stat below 100 before fighting Endless at the top of Kaer Shorai. Then, when you're given a certain choice, which you'll know when you see it, choose Death's Gambit. Your will increases as you die, kill NPCs, or encounter certain events. The easiest way to lower it is to kill the heroic bosses, as each one will lower your will stat by a large chunk the first time you defeat them. Note that not all heroic bosses are created equal, and while they are certainly harder than their normal version, some are much easier than others. Obviously, heroic Ione and Owl King, being the first bosses in the game, will most likely be the easiest for you to take down. Auriga, Wraith King Sirad, and the Phoenix Rider are also on the easier side, but avoid Bysurge, the Eldritch Inquisitor, and the Forgotten Gaian, unless you're feeling very confident. If you haven't already seen what happens after the Endless battle should you meet this requirement, I strongly suggest you go do that first. Otherwise, you're going to get some massive spoilers here, both in terms of plot development and seeing the new areas and bosses, and I'd hate to ruin that for you. Don't worry, you're not going to miss a secret area by completing the game, because you will stay in the post-game until you decide to start New Game Plus. So unless you've already seen it, or just don't care about spoilers at all, stop the video now and go complete the game. Okay, all good? Ready to continue? Awesome, let's begin. There are several things that lead up to the secret boss fight, and I'll start with the new secret area. You may recall from the base game that entering the secret area required you to break your contract with Death during the Thalamus fight, resulting in you being transported to an eerie but not particularly dangerous White Room. It gave me the sense that we had escaped the immediate danger of Thalamus, but were now trapped somewhere between his dimension and ours. The new sacred area couldn't be more different. To access it, first warp to the Collapsing Nightmare 4 Death Statue. Head to the left and you'll find yourself in that 4-way maze section. Go up once, then right 3 times. If you haven't completed the game yet, this room is completely empty. But if you have, the mouth and eye of Thalamus will appear, and you'll be transported to the secret area. As I said, this secret area is vastly different from the White Room. It's a whole new area to explore, and while it's not huge, there are several useful things to find, and it should be readily apparent that you are in serious danger here. In fact, the terminal in the migration chamber refers to this place as the most dangerous of all the dimensions they discovered. To me, this seems like we've gone much further into Thalamus' realm, and while the status screen still shows us as being inside the Collapsing Nightmare, the warp point titles are just 3 question marks. I've chosen to refer to this secret area by the same name used to refer to the White Room. So, welcome to the Nightmare Hellscape. A fellow content creator and fan of Death Gambit by the name of Demajin has done some seriously impressive work, meticulously creating maps of the entirety of the game that show where to find every single item, boss fight, tome, everything. These maps also include the Nightmare Hellscape, and most importantly for us, the Parallax Nightmare Room, which contains a brand new invisible maze for us to traverse. Fun, right? Anyway, I'm going to put a link in the description to the Google Drive folder containing the maps he's created, which you are absolutely going to need, as well as a link to his channel. He does a lot of Metroidvania content, so go check him out. While you explore this new secret area, there are certain things we want to make sure you grab. There are 3 tortured soul items, and a recipe for an item called a crimson egg. For fighting the secret boss, you must get all of these items, and I strongly recommend getting the second tome for Xyarlohatp as well. For reaching Tortured Soul 1 in Nightmare Room 6, note that the wall actually has curves deep enough for you to climb up. I'd recommend having either the Fallen Angel's Thesis from Heroic Endless or Pride of the Bulwark from Heroic Bulwark equipped here. Either of these auras will give you a third jump, and it makes things much easier. Note you can continue to climb up into Nightmare Room 8, and even higher onto a structure that seems to fade in and out of visibility. Once you reach the top, you'll see some blue orbs float by. Jumping on these creates a temporary invisible platform, which you use to cross to the other side. This floating jellyfish thing will give you infinite double jumps, just like the glowing flowers. The thing is, you have to destroy the jellyfish to get it, not just touch it. And these jellyfish will not respawn until you rest at a save point. So if you want the goodies in Nightmare Room 5, that's how you get them. Tortured Soul number 2 is in what appears to be Ash's house within the nightmare, complete with his father's dead body. I bet it smells great in there. Whether this is truly where Ash lives now, or just a nightmare version of it, we don't know. But crash through the floor to obtain the Crimson Egg recipe while you're here. The last Tortured Soul is in the Parallax Nightmare Room, so I hope you're ready to have some fun. As you can see on the map, this room is accessed by several floating, invisible platforms in Nightmare Room 3. Fortunately, the devs were nice to us this time. Do you see the rain? It gets interrupted and bounces off the platforms, so you can use it to track where they are. You'll also notice two other things in this room on the map, the Blaze Ball and Child Soren. The Blaze Ball is believed to be a hint for the ARG puzzle that the community solved to put the secret boss into the game, and as far as we know, it serves no other purpose. Child Soren is, as confirmed by the devs, an Easter egg referencing the original Nightmare Hellscape. It's totally random whether or not he will appear, so you can go in and out of the room again and again until you see him, but it is kind of a long walk. Just like before, you can kill him, but only if you're wearing the Rusty Charm. If you're not wearing it, his HP will just refill. If you do kill him, he drops the Still Heart, just like before. Oh, and note that if you upgraded the Rusty Charm, like I did, it will mess things up, and wearing it will no longer let you kill Child Soren. This is probably a bug, but since you don't need the heart for anything, it's not really a big deal. Now, I know what you're thinking. If you don't need it for anything, why put it in there? I bet you just don't know what it's for yet. And yeah, I thought the same thing. But Gene confirmed for us in the Discord that the heart has no use. It's literally just an Easter egg. At least for now, anyway. That may change in a future update, but we have no evidence of that right now. Interestingly enough, you can actually kill Child Soren as many times as you want and get a ton of Still Hearts, if you have the patience to keep leaving and coming back over and over. Anyway, once you climb those platforms and enter the Parallax Nightmare Room, the real challenge begins. In this room, the strange, unnerving black and white image from the Beating Heart Room in the old Hellscape is a constantly scrolling background. This makes it a bit more challenging to track your movement as you try to navigate the invisible maze. Follow the map Demajan provided to get to the final Tortured Soul, and the other items as well if you want them. As before, dropping items when you find the platforms will be of massive benefit, since it'll help you find them again when you inevitably fall. Since the background is no longer a plain white room, you can see any items you drop, even common ones. You can also throw sunstones to help you figure out where a platform ends. Now, there's one trick I discovered that, combined with the map, makes this maze much easier. I haven't seen anyone else talk about this, but I have a feeling it wasn't intentional. So once I post this video and the devs see it, they may patch it out, but I hope not. The Assault Drone is a weapon you receive by bringing an energy cell from Amalvaro's observatory to a certain console in Garde Tomb, and is also a drop from some enemies in either Garde Tomb or the Migration Chamber. I'd love to tell you exactly which enemies drop it, but I'm not quite sure, and the info isn't on the wiki yet. Anyway, it's a floating drone that fires energy bullets. My plan was actually to fire off a few rounds to try to find the invisible platforms in the hopes that the bullets wouldn't go through them. But I discovered that the red aiming laser from the drone, which points in whatever direction you aim with the right stick, is interrupted by the invisible platforms as well, so you can find them using that laser. I can't tell you how happy I was when I figured that out. Get the soul and the other items if you'd like. The stones tell us some interesting info too, but I'll get to that in a future lore video. Feel free to check them out while you're here. But this video is about the secret areas in the boss battle, and we still have a ways to go. Once you have all 3 Tortured Souls and the Crimson Egg recipe, you have everything you need from the Hellscape, so you can get the heck out of there, either by dream shifting from a save point, or by opening the barrier that separates the Nightmare Hellscape from the Migration Chamber. The next thing you need are the 5 pieces of otherworldly flesh, which are required to craft the egg, along with the tortured souls. To get most of them, you have to kill specific floating orb enemies throughout the world. One is here, on the far left side of the lower level of Amovaro's observatory. Another is in the Aldwyn sewers, beneath the Lumberkin Death Acolyte. The third one is in the Migration Chamber, just to the left of Death Statue number 2, though you probably have that one already. To get the fourth, you have to complete all 8 puzzles in the Stranded Isles. Refer to Demajan's Google Drive for the answers if you need them, because for me to go over them all now would make this video a lot longer, and I don't want to make it too long. The final piece is in the Collapsing Nightmare. Go to the 4th statue, head left into the 4-way maze, then head left again. When you see it, make sure to focus on killing the orb, because if you kill the demons that appear, they'll just multiply. The last thing you need for the egg is 30 Abyssal Eyes. You can get these by killing the Owl Kings and Robot Golem things in Almovaro's tower. Equipping the Greed Aura from the Blood Chest in Journey's End, and stopping by the Giant Rabbit's burrow to rub his belly for the luck buff can make this farm go a bit quicker. With eyes, flesh, and souls in hand, head to Alistar and craft the egg. Next, we need a special tome weapon, which is the only thing that allows us to collect the remaining items we need. Head down to the bottom of the Migration Chamber, and there are 2 terminals. The one on the right wants a code, and the numbers for it are actually scribbled on the walls of other sections of the chamber. The code is 902770, and inputting it allows you to access several text logs, most of which give you lore. One of them gives you another code, 2545500. This code works on the terminal beyond the portal above, the one that connects the Migration Chamber with the Nightmare Hellscape. When you unlock it, you get some more text logs. These aren't actually of any use to you now, because these were part of an ARG challenge the community solved to put Xyarlohatp in the game, and a hint to accessing the secret area, which you've already done. Overall, the ARG was honestly one of the coolest things the devs did in my opinion, and I'd love to dive into it and talk about the challenge and how the community solved it. But again, that's a story for another time. The next thing you will need is to head over to the last terminal on the map, which is also waiting for a code from you. If you read the text logs from the first terminal, you may have caught a reference to a code being hidden in a transmission made on June 11th to another dimension. That dimension exists past another barrier the people of Garde Tomb discovered, the 4th wall. Yeah, they hid it in our dimension. June 11th is when the IGN trailer for Death's Gambit Afterlife was released, and in it, there's a very short moment where you see the Migration Chamber and a screen with a code written on it, 8784599. Input that code into this terminal to get the Al-Azif Grimoire. This is the Dark Element Casting Tome, and it's pretty strong. The attacks are slow moving, but will continue until they hit something and have a good-sized explosion. It also only requires 1 int to equip, which is pretty strange for such a strong weapon. Even though it only takes 1 int to equip though, unless you've leveled up your int a lot, you're probably going to have much more effective options for ranged combat. So why does it only require 1 intelligence, therefore allowing anyone to use it? Simple. It's not just a weapon. It's also a key. The final thing you need to challenge Xyarlohatp is 5 fragments of Exiled God, which you get by striking Xyarlohatp in Soren's world. He's not really physically there, and his presence is nebulous and insubstantial. You can't even perceive him. But fortunately for us, the community spent a lot of time scouring the entirety of the map with attacks from the tome, which is the only thing that can actually hit Xyarlohatp in this state. He appears here in the Migration Chamber, and once you strike him, the fragment drops down to the floor below. He's also here, above the statue of Sirad in the Sky Tomb, which you need to touch a flower to access. He's also in Ryder's Passage, in the room where the corpses from your own defeats pile up. You strike him again here, in the Magister's Labyrinth, and will get some new holes in your boots as you grab the fragment. Strike him again in this room in the sewers, between the Acolyte Lumberkin and Fruppy's restaurant. Now you have everything you need to challenge the secret boss. Head back to the bottom of the Migration Chamber and interact with the left terminal. Having all 5 Exiled God fragments will open the portal to the realm of the Exiled Gods, and having the egg will prompt Xyarlohatp to appear and challenge you. As for the fight itself, well, I wouldn't want to spoil it for you. All I'll say is, I hope you get both tomes, because the information in them is incredibly valuable in figuring out how to defeat this exiled god. I skimmed over a lot of what we found through this side quest, including lore, implications, and how the community came together to accomplish getting Xyarlohatp released into the game. I fully intend to discuss this in future videos, but as I said, I wanted to keep this video focused on finding the secret areas and challenging Xyarlohatp. If you want to talk about it now, I invite you to join the Death's Gambit official Discord, where plenty of us are still theory crafting, discussing build strategies, and sometimes just gushing over how much we love the game. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. Good luck challenging Xyarlohatp, and I'll see you next time. Until then, folks.